Here, I have prepared a tray of fresh chestnuts. But because chestnuts have a hard outer shell, I can't see the inside right away. Therefore, when choosing chestnuts, you should pay attention to a few small details to avoid buying poor quality ones. When holding them, you should choose chestnuts with a hard, slightly shiny shell that is intact, not too cracked or with tiny holes. If you shake them gently and hear a hollow sound inside, the chestnuts may be dry or spoiled. Any chestnuts that feel unusually light or have a strange smell should also be discarded. I tried splitting a few chestnuts in half to check and found that some were rotten inside and unusable. Therefore, a preliminary check before cooking is very necessary. Just a few spoiled chestnuts mixed in can affect the taste of the entire batch of roasted chestnuts. Before washing, I'll sort them one more time, discarding any chestnuts that show signs of being soft, moldy, or that seem to be no longer fresh inside. Careful preparation from the start will make the roasted chestnuts much tastier and safer to eat. After selecting and discarding any substandard chestnuts, I placed all of them in a clean bowl. I added about a teaspoon of baking soda. Many people might wonder why I use baking soda. Actually, the main purpose is to deeply clean the outer shell. Chestnuts are often harvested and transported with fine dust, clinging to the small grooves, so simply washing them with water isn't always enough. Then, I poured water in until the chestnuts were completely submerged. I gently stirred and mixed the chestnuts with my hands to dissolve the baking soda in the water. As I stirred, you'll see the water start to become slightly cloudy. That's the dirt and residue being separated from the shells. Let the chestnuts soak for about 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't need to be too long, just enough to thoroughly clean the shells. During the soaking time, I occasionally gently stirred the chestnuts to ensure all of them were in contact with the water. After soaking, I stir the chestnuts one more time and then transfer them to another bowl of clean water to rinse them. This step completely removes any remaining baking soda from the shells. After rinsing, I drain the chestnuts thoroughly in a colander. But I don't stop there. I use paper towels to dry each chestnut individually. This drying is very important. If there is still water on the shell, the chestnuts will easily become soggy instead of crispy when baked, and the butter will not adhere evenly. Preparing them carefully from the cleaning and drying step will result in more fragrant, evenly cooked, and beautifully shelled roasted chestnuts. Have you ever tried soaking chestnuts before roasting? Or do you usually roast them directly? Now let's move on to the step of splitting and scoring the chestnuts. Normally, many people use the square end of the knife to split or score chestnuts. But if you hold it directly like that, the chestnut is very easy to slip, slide out, and even fly off when you press hard. It's both difficult to handle and not safe at all. So today, I'm using a stainless steel tongs to help. This method is simple, but helps to hold the chestnut much more securely. First, I place the flat side of the chestnut on the cutting board so that it stands upright. Then, I use the stainless steel tongs to gently clamp both sides of the chestnut to hold it in place. Thanks to the tongs, I don't need to hold it directly with my hands, so it's safer. Next, I use the end of the knife to make a horizontal cut on the surface of the shell. Then, I make another vertical cut across the line I just created, forming a small plus sign. These two cuts will help the shell crack easily when roasted, and the chestnut inside will cook more evenly. When making the cuts, just make enough incisions through the hard outer shell. Don't cut too deep to avoid crushing the kernel inside. As you make each incision, place it on a plate. Continue this process until all the chestnuts are used. Using stainless steel tongs makes the process faster and prevents slipping, especially if you're working with many chestnuts at once. After scoring all the chestnuts, let's start the baking process. I lined the bottom of the oven with parchment paper so that the melted butter wouldn't stick directly to the tray, making it easier to clean after baking. Next, I arrange the chestnuts on the tray. You should arrange them in a single layer, not overlapping, so that the heat can circulate evenly, helping the chestnuts cook more uniformly. After arranging them, I added about 1 tablespoon of butter. Then, I placed the tray in the oven and set the temperature to 150 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. At this temperature, the chestnuts will start to heat up, the shells will dry out, and the melted butter will seep into the scored areas. After 15 minutes, I opened the oven. At this point, you will notice a pleasant aroma of butter and chestnuts spreading. I added another tablespoon of butter and stirred well so that the new layer of butter would coat all the chestnuts evenly. This step helps the chestnuts have a richer, creamier flavor and a shinier outer shell. Then, I put them back in the oven for a second time, keeping the temperature at 150 degrees Celsius, but increasing the time to 20 minutes. Slow baking at a moderate temperature helps the inside cook thoroughly without burning the outside shell. When the time was up, I took the chestnuts out and checked the inside. The shells had now split along the grooves, and the kernels were golden, soft, and fragrant with a buttery aroma. If the chestnuts still seem a little moist, you can bake them for a few more minutes, depending on their size. The finished product is fragrant, hot, roasted chestnuts with easily split shells and a soft, buttery kernel that is very appealing. With just a few simple steps, from selecting the nuts, cleaning them, scoring the shells, to roasting them twice with butter, we have a hot, nutty, and incredibly addictive snack. The aroma of butter combined with the natural sweetness of the chestnuts is truly irresistible, making you want to eat a few more. Hopefully, this little tip will help you make roasted chestnuts at home more easily, safely, and to your liking. If you find this method helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I have more motivation to share more great tips. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.